welcome to today's video. My name is Ajane. For those of you who are new, I do a lot of social work style videos, professional videos, and lifestyle content. Traveling, I love to travel. I have a lot more travels coming up that I'm excited to share with you guys. But today is going to be a social work day content. So if you are interested in knowing kind of like what or how to prepare for your LMSW exam or even your LCSW exam, then this is the right video for you in making those steps towards becoming a licensed professional, a licensed social worker. So yeah, let's just get straight into the video. So guys, I took my license about 2 months, almost 3 months ago at this point, and I thought that it would be a good video to create to share with other professionals, other social workers who are wanting to take that next step in applying for their license. Unfortunately, my experience was a little different because when I was initially going to like turn in everything and have my own test, COVID hit, so everything was kind of just like skewed and pushed back. Of course, as you guys know, if you're watching this during or in that time, it is 2022 as I'm creating this video. So the last 2 years have been a little rough, a little uncertain, and there was hesitation and obviously a lot of protocols and new policies to be put in place in order to make testers and vendors like Pearson's to feel comfortable allowing people back into their facilities, and then for people like myself who are needing to take the exam for just their own personal development or professional development, but also for their job, to have more opportunities, to have more, to start the process of pursuing the LCSW as well. So there were a lot of things that we had to end up navigating. I think now at this point, it's beginning half of the year, like in the first quarter. I'm filming this and the first week of May. So it's been pretty stable for the most part, I will say. And so I think that I do have a little bit to give, and I'll create an updated video if that's something that changes a lot. And I'll also list down some people who I followed when I was studying for my license that were very helpful with new updates, policies, and things like that. So you can stay up to date, so you can stay updated and things like that. Laptop here to just go through everything. So the first thing that I would suggest and highly encourage you to do is to go on the ASWB website and check for your specific location. So whatever state that you're currently residing in or wanting to pursue your license in or to take the exam in, I would look at all of the state regulations and standards and policies and requirements for that specific state/city so that you are aware of what documents need to be done, who and what you need to contact, how you need to send in your paperwork and your documents, your payments, and things like that. And so I think that's important, is to first look at the ASWB.org and to really dive into that world and to see what type of requirements that you need so that you aren't necessarily out here looking crazy, sending in the wrong documents or the wrong amounts for something that could have easily been preventable in the first place. So on the ASWB, the Association of Social Work Boards website, they have a candidate handbook. And so this handbook is curated for accessibility for you and I to navigate. And so in that, they have a table of contents with a lot of different topics, a lot of different things if you wanted to focus on one thing or one part so that you not have to necessarily read every single thing every single time. So a lot of you are probably needing to read it the first full time through to make sure that you are in compliance, that you have everything that you need moving forward, that you kind of know and preparing yourself of what this will look like moving forward. So you need to determine your eligibility and issue your license and handle license renewal. There's develops the licensing exams. They talk about, issuing test scores and transfers and things like that. They go into about the exam. So the exam format is the examination contains 170 questions, which 20 of those questions are pre-test. So they don't necessarily count towards the 170. They're included in the 170, but they don't count towards anything. So they don't take away from your score and they don't add from your score. Those are just kind of like pre-test. So you know how before you take an exam or a quiz, they'll tell you like, oh, take answer these 5 questions, but they won't count towards your quiz or anything like that. Those 20 questions are within the actual exam, so they're counted as the 170. But like I said, they do not add value to your test, or they don't take away value from your test. So it's very important to know that every question you still need to give your best effort, even though there's 20 questions that don't necessarily count. So just be aware of that. Just answer every question because you don't know. So these 20 questions are not at the beginning of the exam, or the last 20 questions at the exam, or 20 exactly in the middle, halfway through the exam. They are sporadically in the exam without any indication that they're a pre-test question, or that is one of the 20 questions that is chosen that is not going to count towards your exam. So you just need to be mindful that there are 20 questions, and that they're kind of like, I don't know, freebies in a sense, but I also don't understand why they're in there. But, you know, whatever. So the 150 remaining will count towards your exam. You will have 4 hours to take the exam, which is administered through a Pearson VUE computer. So you'll go into a computer room, like an old computer lab if you were born in the 90s, and they have like kind of like if you know about a traditional office, they have those like cubicles, and so that cubicle kind of goes like halfway past your body so that there is no cheating. Like you can see the other person's like shoulder and like their side profile, but you won't be able to look at their actual computer. And so that helps with just like keeping focus on your own computer, make sure there's no cheating, eliminating any possibility of cheating, or being accused of being cheating. So that's exactly what will happen when you walk into that room. So there are different exam categories, but there's the associate, bachelor's, master's, advanced, generalist, and clinical. And so with the bachelor's, you need a bachelor's degree in social work. And then for your master's, you need a master's degree in social work. And then advanced generalist, you need a master's degree in social work for 2 years of experience in non-clinical setting. And then the clinical, you need a master's degree in social work for 2 years of experience in a clinical setting. So in order to, you know, sit for that license. So there's steps for taking the exam, which are on the ASWB website. They'll also be linked down in the bottom, but I'm just going to read off of it so that you guys know. Your step 1 is to apply for a license with the board in your state or province. Directory of social work boards. I highly suggest going and clicking the link down below because they give you direct links to the things that you need to do. So if you click on that link, guys, it's going to take you to statutes and administrative rules. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Missouri because that is currently where I am residing, and they give you all of the websites, the statutes, and the rules. And within that website, you can fill out the license application and then print it out, or you can completely print it out and fill it out by hand, whichever is your preference. There were some things that I did enjoy filling out and on my own handwriting, like my signature. It's obviously something that you need to print out and then sign. And then there are things like the date of birth and then like my university information that I wanted to type in because sometimes I get a little nervous and my handwriting gets shaky. But I highly suggest doing like a combination of both. And you're going to need to get your application notarized. So it needs to be done by a professional notary. And I ended up going to my bank to go get mine signed because my bank does it for free. So if that's something that interests you, then I would suggest doing that. So I would suggest finding your notary, making sure all of that's organized. You're going to need to get a money order or check, I believe, but double check on that. I can't necessarily remember. I think I sent in a check. But just go over the rules and the regulations and things like that. So let's go back. So you need to submit an application for license. You need to pay the licensure fee, and you need to receive approval to register for the exam. This approval will come via email. If there's any discrepancies or issues with your application, they will send you an email or a follow-up call to tell you that they've made the changes, or they'll ask you about the changes that need to be made. You may need to send in a new application if the changes are too great. So just be very, very diligent and watchful and focused when you fill out your application to make sure that the years are right when you went to school, that everything as far as your birthday looks right, and so on. Step 2 is once you receive approval to register for the exam, you're going to register and pay for the exam with the Association of Social Work Boards, which is the ASWB. And your order, at that point, you will then receive an email. They'll tell you that once they receive your payment and everything, they'll give you the option to then sign up for the exam. So from that link, you'll go from signing up. From that link, you'll be able to figure out what day you get to sit for your exam. So at that point, you need to pick the best date that's available and that makes you feel comfortable, gives you enough and ample time to feel confident in your studies. Make sure that you don't have any conflicting things in your schedule. So I would do that before you plan for a vacation or make up additional plans throughout your year, because if you're wanting to take this exam in 4 months and then in 4 months you have a vacation the same week, you can change your appointment time and date within a certain period, but just be mindful of that. I think that you can only change it one time and then you have to pay a second time. So just go over all of this information before you make other big life-changing or life-altering decisions like vacations and job changes and things like that. So if you do have non-standard testing arrangements, you need to make sure that you send an email out, you make that clear to them so that they can make accommodations for you on the actual test date. And then at that point in step 2, you can also order online practice tests, and you'll receive authorization and confirmation about your test dates that you decided to pick and you start studying at that point. So you start studying, you go through everything that you need to go through, you make arrangements if you need it for the non-standard testing arrangements. And then step 3 is the schedule your test appointment with Pearson VUE, VUE, and you schedule your testing appointment. You must have all of your information. I would highly suggest printing off everything that you get and making a folder and or creating a folder on your Gmail or your Yahoo, whatever Hotmail that you use, your school account, and you make sure that you send that through and save it, or you take screenshots of things and you save it on a folder on your computer, because it is important that you have like every piece of information that they give you, because you're going to need some of that information. You're going to need like your confirmation number and things like that moving forward. So that's important. So I'll make sure that I'll link that down below. And I'm just kind of like going briefly over this stuff. So guys, if you want me to make a more in-depth, I can go back over this stuff. I'm not, like I said, it's been a while since I've actually had to sit for my exam. So a lot of it has gone out the window because it's not something that I necessarily need to look into at the moment until I take my LCSW exam. But I did want to go over the important COVID-related testing information. So let me actually refresh this because I haven't refreshed it since. So important COVID-related information, I think, is also something to look into. Obviously, for people who have taken the exam beforehand, or if you're watching a video that happened in 2019 and beyond, farther back than that, then they won't have this COVID-related testing information because it wasn't relevant at that time. So I think that's important to look at their policies. You have to be agreeable to that. You have to, go through that process. They will make sure that you have on your mask and you sanitize your hands constantly. So just be aware of that. I would also check this information out, because if you've been tested positive for COVID-19, you do have some things that you need to follow up about, like you need to be symptom-free and fever-free for at least 72 hours without use of fever-reducing medicine, or at least 14 days have passed since your diagnosis. If you are currently or have experienced one or more associated symptoms within the last 14 days, and they list them, you have to be symptom-free and fever-free for at least 72 hours. If you live with or have had close contact with someone who has confirmed or suspected COVID-19, you need to at least be 14 days past since your last exposure, and so on and so on. And so they do have specific countries and cities. This is not necessarily for or associated with the ASWB. However, this is the Pearson VUE or VUE website, because this is where the testing will take place. So you still need to abide by the ASWB guidelines and policies and standards, and you also need to abide by the Pearson standards and policies as well. So that's my little prep story. So if you want me to go more in depth about the application process, maybe I'll make another video on just the application and what it needs to look like and the step-by steps, and then I can do another video on then scheduling the exam and prepping for that. I already have I think maybe 2 or 3 videos about my exam I did one announcement video that I posted, and then I did the study materials, which I'll link or add at the end of the video. And yeah, and this one. So I will have more videos coming along, and then I will be starting the process of eventually you guys getting my CEUs and what that looks like and how that journey goes and how I incorporate it into my everyday life and my professional life. And then I also will be doing a video on the whole process of getting my LCSW. So I definitely want to take you guys along for that and be of help and aid to those who are possibly interested in wanting to get some questions answered. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you guys are well and reaching your professional and personal goals, and we can do this. Until next time, see you later.
Fuck.